Hello, my name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and you're watching Guitarist TV. It's part of Guitarist magazine. We're just launching this year in 2023, and one of the first people we're talking to is Kelly Deco, the Kelly Deco band. How you doing today, Kelly?
Great. It's great to be here, and I can see you face to face. This is great.
Yeah, it's really. I'm really glad I embraced. I got to be honest. I'm not real tech savvy, but I had a friend who really encouraged me to educate myself on how to do this, and I'm
Yeah.
glad I'm finally embracing it. It's really a lot
Yeah.
of fun. And so,
Yeah. It's great.
yeah, the second time I'm talking to you, Kelly, this time, like we said, face to face, where I talked to you when the album first came out, and I'd like
Yeah.
to ask you, how's the album been doing? People have been buying it and downloading it and all that.
Yeah. The response is really good. And we've also added a lot of things to uh, to the streams because it's streaming now
Uh-huh.
until the CD comes out and the vinyl comes out.
And do you have an official date for that yet, or is that something the record company's still working on?
It's, there's some really interesting things happening
Uh-huh.
for me and the record uh, with uh, with a major distribution record thing going. So
Well, that's
that's
great to
just
hear
kind of.
because
I'm
a
sorry.
lot of artists don't even put out physical product anymore. A lot of people have the attitude of either, well, hey, why bother writing and recording new music? Nobody buys CDs like they used to. We're just going to live on our catalog of music. So that's what I really got to tip my hat to guys like you, Kelly. You're continuing putting out new music and doing what you do,
Yeah,
and that's what I love about Deco Records. I mean,
exactly. Yeah,
they're all about the physical product. It's kind of
they
old
are.
school, but
Yeah,
that's what it's about. Now,
yeah,
in prepping for the interview day, I was listening to some of the songs. I like talking about some of the songs with you. Now, one of my
yeah,
all-time favorites is "Turn It On." To me, I just love the positive, upbeat kind of good
yeah,
vibes.
yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about that song.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that was the very first song I wrote for the whole record. That was the point where I thought, okay, I'm going to do this record because I was like, well, let's see what's left in the gun, or and then pull the trigger. And then I wrote that, and I thought, okay, this is cool because you got to remember, like I was saying before, I write the songs on the guitar,
yeah,
and I'm basically playing. I can pick up my. It's actually right behind me.
hmm
I'm playing like two note, melody lines.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Maybe imagine "Don't Sleep in the Subway, Darling." Right? Remember Bacharach and all.
Oh,
Okay, so
sure,
that's
sure.
why
Yeah,
you'll notice that songs have that kind of a feel to them.
yeah.
And then with that one, I wanted to have an Alan Toussaint kind of a thing. So I started at A to D, and then I worked with the classical pianist, and which is he's been my friend
Yeah.
and cohort for 40 years or so.
Oh,
He's
wow.
great. Yeah, no, he's been an original member of these projects since the 80s at least. So with
Wow.
the original producer Nick Tembrook at the Record Plant Studios in Sausalito. So yeah, so I run it down by him, and I ran down that by him. Like I'm writing it, and then I get there, and maybe I think I stopped. I was driving my car and stopped halfway in that. Well, I'm gonna make sure I got all this because
Oh, sure.
you get
Yeah,
there.
sure. And another one I love was Waiting on the Girl. I mean, to me, that's got a real 70s rock,
Yeah,
big
yeah.
epic rock.
That's your Coliseum
Yeah,
rock stuff.
yeah, sound. And
Yeah.
it's a song about, at least when I hear it, it's a song of like about hopes and dreams coming
Yes.
true.
Yeah. Like I was gonna say, that's the whole MO of the record. The Turn It On I wrote after, of course, wrote the music first, and it has that same melody kind of thing. And then the words came as to, okay, let's time to tell your life story. It pretty
Yeah,
much tells my life story because I'm from Northern California, and it talks out, about that and the experiences I had in Northern California. I mean, I mentioned San Francisco was a
yeah,
rainbow,
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
bigger than that because it was a huge experience for me at the Record Plant Studios, and I'm from Northern California. But the neat part is, it came out really good. I was really happy, and so okay, let's just keep going. This is going to be fine. We'll just make the whole record,
Yeah.
and we put together. I had put together close to 30 songs, and then we picked, I think it's 11 to
And
do.
how hard is that to whittle down to 10 or 11
It's
tunes?
interesting. I don't know. What happened was, I was just planning to go ahead and say, okay, we're going to just do them 11 at a time.
Yeah.
So, I thought, okay, 11, then we'll just do 3 sides or 3, whatever.
Yeah.
And then we started the first one, and I went in studio, and then a couple of people I had from a long time ago that were no longer functioning. I'll just leave it like that for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so we had to. There was a gentleman I met at a it was a Beach Boys show, and he was opening for them with another band, and I just love this guitar. This guy's great. I guess and then we kind of mutually thought that, and I think we were both looking at what our girlfriends or wives were wearing, and thought these people they look pretty groovy and all that. They were very 60s, and so we got him on, and he was that's Fernando Perdomo, very, very accomplished, but it's played with
that's the thing I dig about this album, these songs, is you can hear all kinds of influences throughout the music.
Yes.
And you bring up like the Beach Boys. That's great, a great example. I mean, I can't believe the Beach Boys, as we sit here talking, it just turned 60 years old. Can you believe that? Talk about our age, but
no, but it's okay. It's all the real music out there. Is they're part of the real music that's still really there. Yeah. And so we all know, Pet Sounds and Smile and all those. I mean, man, how can you not be moved by so many things that they have done?
I mean, and then even to say like, I heard like just last year, Brian Wilson turned 80 years old, and he doesn't look anything like 80-year-old you'd expect to look. But I mean, maybe it's the music that's keeping him,
probably.
Yeah.
Okay, so like on that note, we had this record, and then we had my producer.
Yeah.
And then I said, I really want to get this 70s sound. And he goes, well, Val Garay invented that sound. And by the way, Val Garay is my partner. And it was like, okay, well, think he'll do it. And then the rest is history. He said, yeah. And then he made this sound the way it does.
Yeah.
And then the backstory is, the whole Laurel Canyon thing, that I had been kind of in that in that group, just by being around it from the very early times I was at Los Angeles. So anyways, it came out great because of that. And that was the focus. And here we are talking about it. The record sounds great because it's a Val Garay, Kelly Deco record, and the band and all the members and all the players were excellent. And
whereas I think if you would have gone in and made a different record, like I'm kind of surprised that you didn't have people telling you, Kelly, I know this is what you're into, but the 70s though, I mean, why do you make something more modern? But I dig it because that's what you grew up on. That's your influence. You're staying true to who you are. That's why it's so heartfelt when people listen to this music,
Yeah. Well, you couldn't pull it off if you really weren't one of those people, right? It would just like, why is this guy trying to do 70s music? Instead, I'm just one just still around that's still out there.
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the time we grew up, but I still think that's, at least from my ears, that they don't make music like they did back in the 70s. It's never going to be that good. I mean, there's good stuff out there, but
Okay. So then you add that to the miracle of what Val Garay brings. And I would not have known that. I would never, I'm totally like a sold person, and I love him now, and we hang out together and everything. But I wouldn't. You'd always wonder, well, what does a producer do? How do they do that? Yeah. Well, you remember the big Wallow sound, right? Sure. That Phil Spector brought. Well, if you liked that, that's what you'd go for. Well, if you wanted this early, powerful, in-your-face 70s clean thing that's really still strong, that's Val Garay. That's him. And I wouldn't have known that until I made this record. And now I can say, okay, I know it now. So
there's two schools of producers.
And he's 80, by the way.
Yeah, there's two types of producers. There's producer that just kind of gets hired. They do their job. They go in and a record company tells them what to do, or a band tells them what kind of record they want to make. Yeah. And then you got guys like Bob Ezrin, another great producer from the 70s. I mean, he's still out there working with Alice Cooper, Kiss, Pink Floyd, Deep Purple, great legendary bands. But I mean, he's much more of just a producer. He's a songwriter. Right. He's a musician. Yeah. He does everything. I mean, if you listen to all those great Alice Cooper albums, he's a big part of that sound.
Great too. Yeah.
And Alice, he's one of my all-time favorites. I mean, he's still out there, and he's almost 80 years old. He's in his mid-70s. He's doing it better than ever.
Yeah. Well, I was hooked up with my original producer, Nick Tembrook, through Alice Cooper's I think it was his name's Bill Jacobson. I think he was
Okay, okay.
Alice
Yeah.
Cooper's Connectives people, and
Uh,
he is one that said, "Hey, I know this guy. He's great. He comes out of Juilliard, and he's from the Bay Area. And try him out." And that's where I started with Nick years ago, and he's a great guy too. And so Nick usually handles things like arrangements, and he's a brilliant guy too. And we brought in the singers on this. I got to tell you, we got them from Joe Walsh, so they're
oh,
not like,
wow.
yeah, they're not like, they weren't girls in the neighborhood.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they came and they did all those tracks in a day. It was remarkable. So it was
And another one of my favorites off this album is Creature Dreams. Again, that's kind of
yeah,
a big epic rock
I
song.
love that.
It reminds me a lot of Meatloaf.
Yes, that was my Meatloaf Rocky Horror Picture thing. I'm so glad I was able to have that song and
Yeah,
to do it, and it's great live, and that was the whole thing about it. Just that's the show. The rock show has got to come next
yeah,
because we have that song to put in front of people.
yeah, yeah. Another song that I really dug was Mr. Temptation. Again, it's kind of like a good vibe song, good
Yeah,
times,
yeah,
70s arena rock.
yeah.
And I just love the fun, upbeat aspect feel of the song.
Yeah, thank you. Really nice of you. I'm so happy that you like it.
Yeah,
It's a great sounding record. I'll take credit for finding interesting things to say and putting them together in a way. But the rest is all in Val Garay and then luck. Of course,
well, I think it's a combination of everybody that was involved.
yeah,
I mean to start with, any great album to me, any great successful band or artist, you got to have songs. You got to have good songs,
yeah,
and these are all good songs. And your songwriting is really kind of shining through. As you're saying at the top interview, you wanted to kind of tell, the Kelly Deco story, and I
yeah.
get a good I really do get a feeling after listening to the album. But these songs are, as you say, a page out of your life.
They are. And thank you. I'm so glad that it's there for you to notice, and
Yeah,
it's real and
yeah,
it's not contrived. It's a lot of the songs are heart wrenching for me because they're so there's
so
so much of
personal.
me in
Yeah,
it. Yeah, and it's like, oh my God. And I like I said, when I was recording, I was able to reach deep because it was so real. And I thought, oh, here I am, and I'm singing to the microphone that
yeah,
Linda Wadstad and James Taylor and are all singing on the same microphone with this gentleman, and your face is right on the mic, so
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
you got to really have it together when you get in there and get ready to run that down. But yeah, thanks. I love it. It's the songs are personal, and they're also about me reaching out into another universe, and that's the whole modern
And then
vintage
the title Constellation. I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of it's very fitting, I think, because after listening to the entire album,
yeah,
it's kind of got a spacey kind of
yeah, yeah,
atmospheric
yeah,
thing going.
yeah,
And Dancing at the Fall to me, that really reminds me of 70s era Elton John,
yeah, good.
with a bit of Queen and David Bowie mixed
I'll
in.
take it.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
I love you,
And
man. Thank you. That's great. Yeah, because that's I really I'm kind of channeling that because when it's not there, and a lot of these artists, some of these artists are not around anymore,
yeah,
and then so it's the stage is left to who's going to come next,
oh
and I'm
sure.
like, well, here I'm still doing it. I'm just going to grab it all and do my best,
I mean, let's
and
talk about Queen for a minute and their influence on the world. I mean,
yeah,
initially,
oh
when Freddie Mercury
yeah,
died, who would have ever thought that they'd be able to go out and continue to,
yeah,
tour without Freddie? I mean, Adam Lambert, he's great at what he does, but he's no Freddie
exactly,
Mercury. But I
yeah,
think the reason Brian and Roger are able to still go out and
yeah,
play those songs
yeah.
is those songs are a soundtrack to our lives. They mean something
Exactly.
to
Now
so many
people love him,
people.
and I do too. And,
Yeah,
Freddie Mercury, I mean, there's a few, maybe five. He's one of the top five singers that ever lived, and he's
yeah,
definitely one of them. And I feel that way. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
those are such great songs for every reason. For
yeah.
the vocals, the construction, the words, and the power, and the live performance of
Yeah,
those
and you
songs.
even look at a song like Under Pressure. It's
Oh yeah,
just those two coming together, Queen and David
exactly,
Bowie. I mean,
exactly.
very
Yeah.
fitting. And
Yeah.
I don't think we'll ever see singers like Freddie or David again.
No, maybe not. But everyone, you can keep trying. But the part of it, like you said, is it's real and
Yeah.
it's not just a contrived. Oh, can I go? Can I copy this?
Well,
Can I
see,
copy
the
that? And
thing I
like
will
you,
say, Kelly, about listening to your album is it's like you don't come across as like what I call a rip-off artist. Yeah, I
Yeah,
definitely hear your influences coming out,
yeah,
but it's true to who
yeah,
you are, and
yeah.
uniquely, you still have your own kind of fresh original sound, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I looked
Um,
for it, and I
yeah,
think that
yeah,
that's kind of what Val said. He said, you know, there's something going on with this. Is just not. This is it's got a sparkle. I think is what some people said.
yeah. It's not a
It's something
copycat
different.
by any means. It's just your
No,
influences coming out.
yeah, good.
But the songwriting I think is really it's really strong throughout the entire album.
Thank you. Yeah,
And then the song "Gone to Me" has a real talking about
yeah,
David Bowie has a
yeah.
real Ziggy Stardust kind of vibe to it.
Someone else I had just recently had another interview. Someone said the same thing,
Yeah,
and they played a clip from it and everything. Yeah, you know, you're right because it probably is, and you know what it's about. If you don't know, you probably do by
yeah.
now. Yeah, it's about my mom dying.
And so
Yeah,
a lot of people are making those comparisons with
good. I'm glad.
but the question is that just what people are hearing, or would you say David Bowie was a huge influence on you?
I would say that entire area. I would say
Yeah.
Bowie is because before Bowie there was Anthony Newley, and Anthony Newley did have a big influence on me.
Mhm.
And so because it was so bizarre and you know and out there, and what a showman that, and he was obviously wrote the songs for Sammy Davis Jr. and the whole and that whole era, and the Frank Sinatras that learned to they're just holding the notes longer, and Sammy could just sing and the vibrato and the drama, and it's like okay, you know that's wonderful. And then
And being that
later
you
on,
yeah, being that you
because at
come from
first
North,
Bowie didn't really get it right. It took
yeah.
him about 10 years to get the David Bowie to come out of him.
Oh
So
yeah.
I
And
think
being that you're from Northern California, I was curious, were you at all influenced by the Grateful Dead or Creedence Clearwater
yeah,
Revival? Yeah,
oh absolutely. Yeah, no. In fact, uh yeah, I still so I've got other stories I can tell about. There's a connection, but being from Northern California and the scene is not that big up there,
yeah,
and so when you're a part of anything from Northern California, which I was younger,
yeah.
you're a part of those people because they're
We know being from Northern California too, like you got the connection to those bands obviously because you grew up in the area.
yeah,
I mean, a lot of those Woodstock bands,
yeah,
Creedence, Clearwater
yeah,
Revival,
yeah, sure,
Jefferson Airplane, the Grateful Dead, they
yeah,
all came out of there. And then you get into the '80s and the scene's a little different. They actually that's where a lot of those metal thrash bands. They had a huge metal
exactly,
scene come out of San
yeah,
Francisco too. And
that's right.
so San
It's
Francisco is an ever evolving,
it's a great
changing
place.
changing
Yeah,
sound.
yeah, absolutely, I love it. I love San Francisco. I'm yeah, I'm friends with other musicians and other bands, and they still live up there. Yeah, including the
And
Craig,
so
the drummer for
have
Key.
you, I'm sure you've been down here to Southern California. How would you compare Northern Southern California?
Well, the weather's really good in Southern California,
Yeah, and isn't
and
it
there's
funny that
yeah,
in Southern California though this week they've been having floods and
yeah, I
and
know
and
it's
rainstorms like
horrible.
they've never had before. Yeah,
You know, sooner or later, everyone's gonna get their share of whatever
yeah,
the trouble is that everyone's sharing in. But
yeah. And so being from Northern California, what do you like enjoy doing up there? I mean, like if you were to have somebody ask you, hey, if I'm going to go visit Northern California, what's something you'd recommend I do?
go fishing.
Oh, so you're a fisherman, huh?
I grew up along the Sacramento River in small towns, and a lot of the wineries out there. And a lot of those areas haven't changed because you can't cross the little rivers because they haven't built bridges. So those areas are kind of like in a locked in time, like places in Louisiana would be. But then, of course, the city of San Francisco is just brilliant to go there. Anything you can do
Yeah,
to go there would be great. But if you want to talk about the Delta,
yeah,
it's
sure.
wonderful, wonderful people, free. It's very free and easy, and it's like going back into time, or a small town somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's only a hop, skip, and a jump from the city.
And obviously, we know you're a big fan of the '70s rock era, as am I. But I was
Yeah,
curious, are you much into the blues? Any of that ever get into your
yeah,
system?
absolutely. Years and years ago, I bumped into BB King in Natchez, Mississippi,
Oh,
and
wow.
he was doing a show, and I work in the film industry as well,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was on a show there, and so I saw him. I said, "My God!" I saw the show. It was great. And I said, "Listen, I've got this guitar I could drag around with me that I write all my songs on. Would you please sign it?" And he goes, "Oh no, I don't sign it." And I said, "Give me 5 minutes." I ran to my room because I was in the same hotel, and I brought it down and he signed it. So ever since then, every song I've ever written was written on just a cheap Fender acoustic guitar. I think it's an F15, autographed by BB King, and he also wrote to stay with it.
Oh,
So I
wow.
see those words, okay, stay with it. I can't stop because
Mhm.
and BB King says keep going. But yeah, I love it. And I just got
And the
another
reason
one.
I bring that up, I was curious, with the recent passing of Jeff Beck, I was curious that you
Yeah,
would all influenced by him.
absolutely. How could anyone not be? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
he's yeah,
Talk
that's
about the fountain of youth. I mean, I knew he was
yeah,
old, but I had no idea he was 78 years old. I mean,
yep.
surely did not look his age. Maybe the music kept him alive so long, you know?
The producer again, I work with Val Garay. Uh, looks like Rod Stewart. Those guys have. I don't know. I think they have fountain of youth in their house or something. But I bet they're happy and lively people too. So
Yeah, yeah.
maybe it's just genetic, and they're good people, and they just keep it going. But but they are in person. They're just
So,
as
so let me ask you, Kelly, the new album, everybody's loving it, but
yeah.
how long has it been since you didn't put out an album?
Well, I kept recording until my son was born, and then
Okay.
I became a dad, and I raised him. He's 23 now, and I said, well, I think it's time to see if there's anything left in the gun here. And then this came out. But during that whole time, I was writing the whole time, and just I couldn't
Stop
just
writing,
go
yeah.
back into it. So I wrote everything down on popsicle sticks, and there's boxes of popsicle sticks all around with all my little notes on it. So I should make a collage or
Yeah,
something.
and like I was saying at the top interview, talking about 25 years have passed, since you
Yeah,
did your last album. I
yeah,
mean, the world's
yeah,
changed greatly. The music industry is nothing like it used to be. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
like we're saying, a lot of people don't even release
Right,
CDs anymore. Everything is a
right.
digital file.
Well, the
Um,
cars don't carry them. It's not the cars. They aren't
yeah,
built
I mean,
into cars
how
anymore.
long how
Yeah,
long did it take you to kind of adjust to the new way of doing things?
I'm not going to. And I
Yeah,
hired a company that
does
it's a
it for
great
you.
company, and
Yeah,
they do it, and they're brilliant, and including Chipster, including all the other people we work with, are just experts at it.
yeah,
And
I
so because of that, I mean, there's no way an average person
yeah.
can even be involved in what it takes to connect with social
Oh
media and
yeah.
connect with the streaming and to all the outlets. And
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to all the folks at Chipster PR. I
yeah,
mean, they've given me
absolutely.
so many great people to interview
Yeah,
over the years, and
yeah,
I mean, to be
it's
honest, I wouldn't
amazing.
be talking to you probably
Yeah,
if it wasn't for
good.
him. Only
I'm
only
glad.
because
Yeah,
I probably wouldn't have heard about your album.
yeah, yeah.
And
No, he's great, and
yeah,
and he's good friends with the whole Deco gang over there, and also Johannes, the greatest album artist that probably I'm sure alive for
I
sure
mean,
today, and
yeah,
all those great records he designed, and this is one of them. So
yeah,
I mean, the thing we always wanted to keep the top tier people
yeah.
on this project because we were lucky enough to start that way, and so we've just been doing that the whole time,
And
and
I think it speaks volumes of obvious talent you have because when you have those kind
yeah,
of people backing you,
yeah,
I mean, you've got something going, especially, I mean, I want people to understand what we're talking about. You
yeah,
share the same publicist as Michael Schenker, Judas Priest. So I
yeah.
think you're in pretty good company with Carmine Appice,
Neil
Albert
Young,
and Joe
yeah,
Bouchard, from Blue Oyster
yeah,
Cult.
yeah.
Um, in fact,
It's
talking about
amazing.
Echo Records, just
Yeah,
the roster of artists they have. I mean,
yeah,
Carmine Appice recently released a solo album called Guitar Zeus. Came out like 25 years ago, and
yeah.
it never really got a serious push here in the United States. But
Well,
I tell you,
yeah.
people are finally checking it out now.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
he's brilliant, right? So there you
yeah,
go. But that's the beauty is we've been lucky enough to have been somehow stand with these kind of people the whole time, and so we're just gonna keep going. But then again, this is the real deal. This is an authentic
hmm
piece of
music.
the
Yeah,
next step from the '70s all over again, or however you want to say
yeah.
it.
And we were talking a little bit about Meatloaf too, and like where you mentioned him because I mean what I love about Meatloaf,
Absolutely.
he's a great performer, he's a great
Yeah,
songwriter. I mean,
yeah.
he's one of those songwriters. You listen to his songs, he's a real visionary.
Yeah. So Bad Out of Hell. I mean, for God's sakes, I used to. That's one. It's even listed in one of my. If you look, they ask
Yeah,
you for your
yeah,
influences. I think on Spotify and in Kelly Deco radio they have, and he's one of the people. Him and Bill, But
yeah.
yeah, Bad Out of Hell, man. That's that showed me what
What a real
rock show is.
rock show is.
Yeah,
I
I
almost
love
dare
it.
say the ultimate rock show. I mean, I
Yeah,
put him up there in the
yeah,
top three. Alice Cooper,
I
Kiss.
agree. I agree with
Yeah,
all that. And it's interesting you say Alice Cooper, and then I realize I do have a connection early on
yeah,
because of
yeah,
the connection from the producers and all that. And that it's the same thing.
yeah,
I'm doing my deal is more like a space, the
yeah.
space guy
Hobby.
out there with Bowie and Meatloaf running
Yeah.
around chasing the universe or something.
And again, you got your own little thing going. That
That's important too,
that
yeah.
chasing the space thing. And the next obvious question, Kelly, is are you going to talk about performing? Are you going to take this
Yeah,
on the road? Any plans to do
absolutely.
live shows?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely, everywhere we can,
Yeah.
and as much as we can, and as long as
And would your goal to be to get out there as much as possible? You think like you'll
yeah,
do like sporadic shows here and there? What's
yeah,
the plan? Yeah,
yeah. I think that the record company will
do what they
have to
can. Yeah,
help, yeah, and wait to see where the places where people are really getting into it. So if people go into it and get into it by watching your show, we could come to your town.
yeah, that'd be nice. And are you surprised the response you got? I mean, talking to you about
Yeah,
the power of the internet,
yeah.
you must get people messaging you all over the world telling you how much they're digging your album.
That's surprising,
Yeah,
and it's surprising. I'm glad because we realize this is a real thing, and real fans of the things we're talking about are looking for more of that. And it's
yeah,
pretty hard to find anything real anymore that's actually not just kind of a takeoff or a
yeah,
joke. And also, this is unique to be its own thing too. So
yeah.
it's literally, although composed of those elements, the tea is a little different when it
Oh,
comes out.
sure.
So yeah,
And talk a little bit about your songwriting too.
of the whiskey.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I'm willing to bet you were influenced also, at least songwriting wise, by the Beatles.
Of course, who's not? I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I mean, that's learning the expertise of how to write is
yeah,
to understand and you just feel it in your bones when you get it right because
yeah,
you're and one of the things that really flashes through your mind is like what would Lennon or McCartney do
yeah, yeah,
here and if it comes up heads or tails you'll know how what to think at that
yeah.
point.
And I think a lot of times people need to learn to be more willing to open their ears. And what I mean by that is,
Yeah,
for example, I typically listen to hard rock and metal, but you know what?
yeah,
I'm just as much a fan of the Beatles, Tom
yeah,
Petty,
that's
the
good to
Eagles.
hear.
You,
Yeah,
you know why? Because great music, great songs, and
exactly. Yeah,
those songs that I'm talking about, those
yeah,
bands, they've
yeah,
been on the radio for the last 40 or 50 years. There's a reason people are still
yeah.
listening to that music.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I totally agree about all the different types of music and no matter which one it is, if it's good, you're gonna think, wow, that's really great. And my influences come from all of it. And I listen to everything you can imagine to try to
Well, I can't
let it
imagine from
influence
listening
me.
to your album,
Yeah.
I get that vision that this guy's influenced by a whole
Yeah.
ton of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's some yeah, I mean the whole vocal style I use now is not by mistake. It's I'm working something
Yeah.
that's in me that I feel from other sources. That's
And here's a question for you, Kelly. Like, how old were you when you first started to become a musician? I mean, did you pick up the guitar first? Was it you wanted to learn? Did you start writing songs first? Did you start learning how to sing?
So I was 5 years old, and I built a bandstand in my backyard, and I forced my neighbors to pretend like they could play in a band, and it was mostly kind of uh, standing around, gesturing and banging, and then I went from that to I had a cardboard box I used for a drum,
Wow,
and then
wow.
I had one of those drum kits your parents get you for Christmas.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then I had a guitar that parents people get you for Christmas. And then I had a piano. So I went through all the different things until finally I did get an actual, it was probably a Sears or something
Uh-huh.
less. I think there's a guy, there's a brand on it. Yeah, anyways, it was some kooky low end brand guitar, and I played it and kept playing
Wow,
and never stopped. And
wow.
yeah, that was the part of it is that don't stop. You got to just keep going
Yeah,
forever
yeah, yeah,
with whatever you do.
yeah.
And
And,
sooner or later,
yeah,
the
and,
world will come around to your way, or you'll
yeah,
somehow you'll connect to the world, or there'll be no one left but you. However it goes,
yeah,
you
yeah,
get a shot, you're there, and take it, and then, but be sure when you're going, it's really you, and it's
yeah.
really.
Yeah.
not just you copying you or you copying your neighbor or etc. I mean, I guess there's a place for that, but for
Yeah.
me, it was always the authenticity carries it.
Yeah.
That's one of the strengths, I think, of
Yeah.
what I'm
Sure.
doing. So, yeah,
Well,
yeah,
Kelly, I'd like to thank you for taking time to talk to me again. It was really a
yeah.
blast this way.
Thank
I'm gonna
you.
post the interview sometime next week. I'll let you know. I'll let you and Chip know once it goes up. So take care, my
Great.
friend, and we urge everybody to go out and get the album, and you're gonna dig it as much as I did, I
Yeah,
think. So take care, and we'll talk again real soon.
yeah. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Bye bye.
Have a great weekend. Thank you.